Hi y'all, you're watching Writing Wednesdays. My name is Maverick Moses and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be part 6 of my Outlining 101 series. To review, we've talked about how to brainstorm, creating a plot line, writing chapter hooks, and how to outline chapters, specifically chapter 1 and the middle chapters. Now it's time to move on to how to outline the climax of the story. The climax. The most exciting part of any book. When all the action, emotion, and conflict that's been built up throughout the entire story finally converges and comes to a resolution. Just like with every other part of a book, you gotta outline the climax. So here are the 5 steps that I personally use when outlining the climax. Step 1, analyze what you've got. Before you can really get started with outlining the climax, you've gotta bring it on back. Take a good look at your outline so far. Make sure that you've covered all of the necessary points that will let your climax make sense. And if you feel like you need to add a couple more chapters, go ahead and go back and do that now. Step 2, determine the climax. What is your climax? I would hope that you've known since the beginning of outlining what your climax would look like, so this should be a piece of cake. But basically here you want to hone in on exactly what will happen in this climactic scene. At its core, it's probably something along the lines of the hero finally defeats the villain, but it gets more specific with it and analyze how your characters and all of their emotions will eventually tie into that climax. Step 3, work backwards. When outlining the climax, I found that it's actually easier to work backwards from the actual climax. Determine the things that will happen right before the actual climax, and then determine the points right before that, and then the points right before them, and so on until you have a grasp on what the events leading up to the climax will look like. Make sure you're paying attention to how your characters interact with each other during this crucial time, and let their emotions reflect the tone of these scenes. Step 4, work forwards. Now that you've worked backwards from the climax, now you need to work forwards from the climax. Remember that triangle inception diagram from my How to Write a Plotline video? Well, this is basically the final falling action. This is where you'll explore the emotional ramifications and final feelings of your characters that occur right after that final climax. Step 5, cliffhanger or no? By now you should have figured out if you're going to be making your book a series or just a singular novel, so make sure that your final falling action lines up with your decision here. If you're planning on a cliffhanger, then maybe your characters are feeling happy after the defeat of the villain, but still have a little bit of doubt in themselves about whether it's really over or not. This marks the end of my Outlining 101 series, so if you haven't already, This marks the end of my Outlining 101 series, so if you haven't already, be sure to go back and watch those other videos of this series, and I'll link all of those down below for you. The entire series has been about how I personally outline a book, so if you don't feel that my steps line up with the way that your mind works, don't feel pressure to follow every one of my steps to a T. This is meant as a general guideline or a checklist that will still definitely help you if you're just getting started with your book idea. If you would like more one-on-one help with outlining and starting your book, feel free to take a look at my coaching services. More info on that is linked down below. If you have any questions or video ideas that you'd like to see, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. My young adult supernatural thriller and dark urban fantasy novel Karma's Children is expecting to be released by the end of 2018, but you don't have to wait that long to start reading it. If you follow the link down below and sign up for my email list, I'll send you the first chapter of Karma's Children completely free, so be sure to check that out. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you want more Writing Wednesdays every week, please hit that subscribe button. Be sure to follow me on Instagram for behind the pages insight into my life and work and sneak peeks of future videos. See y'all next week. Bye!